This is my discussion slash review for 911 Lone Star Season 4, Episode 11, titled Double Trouble. And they took a running gag and made a fairly decent episode about it. Let's talk about it.
Live life for the fight, yeah, I'm here to get it. I got drive, got sight, always have a vision. I go by at night, I be in my feelings, I'm a big fight.
We had two overall stories that was the main focus this episode, and that is Mateo and his cousin Marvin, and Judd and Wyatt. And both stories were very captivating. They pulled you in, even if the Mateo and Marvin aspect kind of got real comical right there in that one part where it kind of took this whole spin on things. But the overall concept of it brought it into focus and made you see the picture just a little bit clearer, in my opinion. Now, we had one case that was actually evident in this episode, and that was the case of the old lady and the two boys and her being the mean little neighbor. Now, I feel like growing up, if you're growing up with neighbors, everybody has that one person where they were like, yeah, that's the neighbor yard where they got the mean dog, or you can't hit anything over there, or you can't get anything that flies into their yard back. And that was very evident, and that's very true in life. But this episode, we see that lady, boy, she was having a field day taking those kids' toys. I mean, she had a whole little box full of kids' toys from the neighborhood. But because those kids couldn't play with their toys anymore, they decided to take out an arrow, and they shot her in the neck. Oh my gosh, I did not see that coming. But to be fair, they also possibly saved her life, because had they not shot her neck, it would have never been exposed that she had the tumor in her neck, which technically also saved her life as well. And to end it out, she kind of told those kids, you can get all your toys back, and next time you guys come to the house, you can have a thing of juice. Now, I feel like because it was a life or death experience type thing, that kind of what made her change her whole perception and decided to be nice to the kids and give them back their toys. Now, it's sad that it took that kind of incident for that to happen, but, a lot of times those little old neighbors, man, sometimes they're just lonely, and sure, some of them are a tad bit rude, but sometimes they're just lonely and they just need someone to talk to. And in this circumstance, it happened to be, she was just mean, and then those kids actually saved her life, and now she's just the nicest person you can meet. But now let's focus on the two main stories of this episode. Like I said, first we'll talk about Judd and Wyatt, because I really enjoyed that aspect, because we haven't seen Wyatt in a minute. We know he went off to college and everything, but now he comes back. He has his girlfriend. Cool, they're having a nice little family dinner with Judd and Grace, and boom, bam, this boy says that he got his girlfriend pregnant. Not pregnant, pregnant, man, because dude, he got her pregnant, and now he's willing to drop out of school. He wants to be a firefighter. And to be fair, we kind of knew that was coming, man. Like, the moment he said he dropped out of school, I knew exactly what he wanted to be, because let's be 100%, ever since Judd was introduced to him and we were introduced to Wyatt, he idolized Judd. He looked up to Judd. Now, he was mad at first, but after he got past all that resentment, him and Judd made a real strong connection and bond, and he loves Grace just as much as he loves Judd. So I love that whole dynamic in that aspect. But Judd really wasn't feeling it, and this was really kind of messing with Judd, because he didn't want Wyatt to turn out like him. You know what I'm saying? To have a kid and not be there in the kid's life because he wanted to be a fighter. Like, it's a whole ordeal, and Judd kind of saw himself in Wyatt, but he didn't want Wyatt to be him. You know what I'm saying? And then he just came straight out and flat told this kid, man, you're soft. You can't be a firefighter. But after talking with Grace and Tommy, basically, he kind of realized that what he said was harsh, and he meant it, and he didn't take it back. It's just that Grace kind of gave him a different perspective on it, and was like, well, even if you meant it, why don't you train him and make him prepared to be a firefighter? Now, I feel like Judd felt where him not going to talk to the chief about getting him a slot just because, hey, this is my son, can you give him a slot for the firefighter academy? No. Now, if you go in there and you earn your own spot and you do something on your own, I can get behind it. But Judd never went back on his word. He never backed down. He stood his ground, but he did apologize for the way he came across and decided to train Wyatt. But Wyatt kind of stepped up. He took that no, and he kind of used that as fuel, and he went to talk to the chief himself and got himself admitted to the firefighter academy, which is fantastic. So I feel like that's a nice thing that they can bond over yet again. And at the ending of the episode, we see Judd training Wyatt, and I feel like that's something that's going to elevate their relationship because we know that they've been trying to build a great one ever since, you know, Wyatt was introduced to Judd into his life. And, you know, he was basically grown at that point, you know what I'm saying? Well, he was like 17, but now that we're here, we can see this is another aspect, a part of each other's lives that they can intervene in and just have that connectivity going forward. And I think that was wonderful. Now, the Mateo and Marvin aspect, we know that I want to say Marvin appeared in 911, the original series, and that's where we met him at. And then Mateo kind of got cast in 911 Lone Star. But it was a running gag that he had a cousin that lived in LA that looked just like him. So it was funny to see that whole thing take place this episode. And boom, bam, he calls Mateo and tells him that he needs his bail. $25,000 is a lot for bail. And we know why, because he's done it before and he doesn't show any kind of semblance of changing this aspect. But we see that Mateo really wants to help him out because he done something. He looked out for Mateo in the past, and we learn later in the episode he covered for Mateo. Now, we see Mateo asking Owen for the money, and Owen was like, no, I can't give it to you, knowing the circumstances because TK, yet again, was an addict. And we know this, and he wanted to show Mateo that, you know, hey, you could possibly help, but I don't recommend it because, I mean, you got to look at it like this. If you help him and get him on bail, he's going to get out and do the same thing again. He's not going to learn his lesson. And short of the story, that's exactly what he done. Now, he got the money from Nancy. Mateo was scrambling to try to get the money. He was selling all of his Pokemon cards, but Nancy gave him the money. $24,000. Well, $100. Now, the only thing about that is sure, you guys are together, you're in a relationship. I think that's cool, but I wouldn't have took the money because it would have felt weird for me. And it's not even a pride thing. I mean, because I was looking at it like this. I want him to learn his lesson. And the sad thing is, Mateo took the money, you know, and Nancy made it known it was a loan, but Mateo took the money, and his cousin done the exact same thing that Owen said he was going to do, which was he got out of jail, stole another car, and this time the car crashed and he died. And Mateo felt some type of way, and that's what led into like the whole jokey aspect of the episode, in my opinion, with the whole double trouble. Mateo's drinking, and he hit himself in the head on the table, and he's out, and now he's dreaming about this whole sitcom life. And we see the actual story break down. We see why Mateo was so adamant about being there for Marvin and helping him every time, because had Marvin not covered for Mateo when they were younger, when Mateo burned down the school and was, you know, tagging stuff, Mateo would have went down a dark path. Marvin would have went down a dark path, and Mateo feels like he's responsible for that. And it sucks, man, because we see that this has been eating at Mateo for years, man, and now he feels responsible that his cousin died because he wished he could have listened to Owen and just left him in jail. But he was also just a smidge mad at Nancy because she gave him the money, but not wholeheartedly. You know, he don't blame her, he blames himself. And what I loved about this episode, because they took that running joke which stemmed from 911, which then was played into 911 Lone Star, and made a whole, well, not the whole episode, but made half of the episode about that running joke. Then they done a joke on the joke within the show, which is, you know, Mateo in the dream world with the sitcom aspect, which was Owen was the father, Judd was the milk guy, and Tommy was the mom, and, you know, Marjan was the sister. I really love that whole aspect. I did get it at first, but like, because it was just so jokey, I was like, okay, well, we didn't really need this. But the moment that it shifted and it became super serious and super intense, I was like, right here, this is the moment where it really captivated me. And I was like, this part. So huge shout out to them on that. It was really captivating. The story really sold everything, and it kind of rounded out everything while Mateo was acting the way that he was acting. And I just loved the episode because at the ending, we see Mateo, he's ready to turn himself in. And Owen told him, no. We need you. We miss you here at the firehouse. So if you want to honor Marvin and, you know, honor his memory, and don't take away his sacrifice that he made for you, you go to work every day and you make it your mission to save someone. And I was like, that's captivating, man. That's great TV right there, man. And the rest of the episode, you know, there were bits and pieces that was flashing back and stuff. And we see Marjan is on modified duty because she's been shot. So now she's running around the whole firehouse, changing stuff, getting everybody on their P's and Q's. And they was like, she needs to go back to the field. But overall, like I said, I loved the episode. I didn't know where they were going, like, once we got halfway through the episode with Mateo and his little dreamscape, but it paid off very, very well at the ending of the episode. This is really incredible. Don't forget to smash the like button too. You can't smash any more. Comment down below, and I'll be sure to respond to each and every one of them and subscribe. Peace out.